Not long after Kamari and I were married and we were on the farm at Cedar Bluff, I was dealing in horses and buying and selling some. And one day I was driving down a highway and there were 5 horses out in a plowed field. And it wasn't a big field. They had eaten everything that was alive around the edges of this plowed field, including some of the fence posts that weren't alive. They had just eaten it down, and they were so poor. I felt so sorry for them. There was one pretty good sized horse out there, a decent looking horse, and so anyway, I found the people that owned them, and I bought this horse partly out of pity, partly because he was a fairly decent shaped horse, but he was really thin and poor. And I took him home, and I didn't want anyone to see him. So I went down off of the hill. We were on the farm, and the house set up on a hill, and Stillwater Creek was, probably 150 feet lower and to the north of the house there. And so I went down and built a pen down by the creek, and I kept him there for a month and a half just to get some weight back on him, so that he'd look a little better. And we named him Captain Crunch. He was actually just a really kind, sweet horse. And we had ridden him for a while, and some of the students had ridden him. Sharon Clark had ridden him, and Kim Andrews. And anyway, some people came by, and he had some really bad scars, the horse did, on the front of his back legs, right down the front of the cannon bone. Some really heavy scarring there that I don't know how he had gotten it. But nevertheless, he had them there, and some people came, and they had a daughter wanting to ride, and so she rode Captain Crunch for a little bit, and they bought him. And I told him, I said, now, if he hits those hind legs over a jump or something, he may be tender, and he may be lame for a day or two, and but he'll be all right. His bone structure was good and everything. So they'd had him for about a month and a half. I always guaranteed every horse I ever sold, guaranteed satisfaction. I might not give them all their money back for a horse, but I would find a horse that would suit them. And so anyway, a month and a half or so had gone by, and they called and said, he's lame. We want you to come get him. I said, okay, that's fine. And so I went and got him. Well, he was lame on the hind legs, and it lasted a couple of days, and then he was fine. Well, the Fort Sill Artillery Hunt Show was coming up, and this Sharon Clark was in the 14 to 17 division, and Kim Andrews was in the 12 to 14 division, 12 and 13-year-old division. And they wanted another horse to ride. And so I said, okay, let's take Crunch, and y'all can ride him. And these people were there with their new horse that they'd gotten from someone else. And anyway, Captain Crunch was a pretty good performer. He was champion in the 14 to 17-year-old class, and he was champion in the 12 and 13-year-old class. And every time one of those kids would win a class, they would go parading by where they didn't like the girl that had Captain Crunch, and they hadn't liked the way she had treated Crunch. They were both very tender spirits about how to treat their horses. Anyway, they would go by there where they were keeping their horse, swinging their blue ribbons, and I got to feeling kind of bad about it, but nevertheless, he was quite a good performer. Kind of an ugly horse in ways. He had a very plain head. It was a little bit Roman nosed, but he was a big bay, but the horses don't always do just the way you think they will, and it's like any of us. If we had a bad scar and we hit it, it may hurt for a day or two, and he was the same way. But they sure made him out to be good, and he was good. You don't win a championship. The Fort Sill Artillery Hunt Show was a big show. They had couple of hundred head of horses there. And so to win both divisions, he had to perform pretty well. But that was a horse by the name of Captain Crunch. And the kids had named him. Have a wonderful day.